Hey there, Clariphiles and Clariphilettes. The school year has sneaked upon us. But before we end all the summer doings, the time has come, the walrus said, to think of many things. Actually, we're not going to think of many things. We're only going to think about one thing and how it influences many things. And that one thing is the most important tone hole on the clarinet, and the smallest. So you might say it's the biggest and the smallest. It's critical in so many ways. It's more important than any other tone hole in terms of its location, in terms of its sizing, in terms of its length, and in terms of how it influences so many other things. And knowing a lot about it is going to help you play the clarinet better, keep your clarinet in better adjustment, make it play smoother, make it play more evenly, make it play better in tune, and make you a happy claricamper. And we're going to talk about that next. If you want to be a happy claricamper, then stay tuned. But if you're content with the status quo, then I suggest you hit the beach before you have to hit the books. And with that, hang on, a lot of information is going to follow. In case you hadn't guessed about the tone hole I'm talking about, I'll show it to you now, and most of you did guess what it is. It's this little troublemaker right here that we commonly know as the register key. Now, some people mistakenly call this the octave key, but again, the clarinet does not overblow octaves like the flute or other instruments, bassoon, and so on and so forth. The clarinet overblows twelfths. So instead of a C coming out of the tone hole here on the clarinet, and when you press the register key, another C an octave higher comes out. Instead of that, a G an octave and a fifth higher comes out. So that's what a twelfth is. It's an octave and a fifth. Well, that's rudimentary information. But what's so important about this little tone hole right here? What's so critical about it? And what does it do? We're going to answer that in the next segment. So you ask, what does the register key do? Well, it'd almost be easier to tell you what it doesn't do than what it does do on the clarinet, because it affects so many things. But let's start off with the most basic idea about the register key. It's a double function key, and it performs two different tasks. The first task is, of course, producing the third line B flat, or the throat B flat, and you add the register key to the throat A key to produce that. And most people are kind of disgusted with the way that sounds. And part of the reason is because that it's also that particular tone hole has to function as the registration key, the key that puts you into the second register, so the clarinet can overblow the twelfths. So you've got your second register produced and your throat B flat. So what could be the problem? Well, the problem is these two functions. I won't say two notes, because the register key when it functions as a registration key, it's not a note. It influences a whole bunch of notes. The registration key and the throat B flat key require quite different characteristics. When you're playing the throat B flat, what you want is a nice, free-blowing, flexible, resonant sound with the kind of depth that you would get in most of the rest of the low register. But in the second register of the clarinet, and especially when you get in the upper clarion, above the staff, you want that particular register key to provide enough adequate resistance, enough support, so that you don't get all the undertoning and grunting that would be present if the register key were too big and not providing adequate resistance. So in one area, you want the register key tone hole to provide good resistance and good support and good stability, especially up in that high register. And in the other one, you want the register key to provide a throat B flat that's nice and fat and resonant and free-blowing and clear. A lot like the side key trill B flat that we play and we wish the register key sounded as well as that. Well, it doesn't. So how do we fix this? How do we kind of balance these two conflicts together, and so that they're both I don't want to say they're both compromised acceptably. I want to say so that they both function as well as they can, considering their reality. That's what the rest of this video is going to be about. So what can you do to make your register key lot a little bit better than it is, and to improve the performance of the clarinet by correctly having this adjusted? And this is what you can do yourself without worrying about taking it to somebody like me. First thing is, make sure that the register key, the tube that sticks into the bore, make sure that it's clean. Now, you're not going to be able to do that by looking into it, because it's all dark down there and you can't see. But the register key gets full of debris all the time. And I've seen register keys that are completely lined with lint and debris from dragging a swab over the bore. So the first thing to do is to clean that tone hole out, to clean that register tube out. And the best way to do that is simply take the key off. Anybody with a screwdriver can do it. If you look at my video, how to screw in a screw, that would be helpful if you've never done it before. If you do it and you mess things up, that's on you, not on me. But look at that video, it'll be helpful to you and keep you from stripping threads or anything disastrous like that. But take the key off and take a pipe cleaner and go down into the register tube and swab it out. That's a very important thing to do, and it needs to be done periodically. I would do it, depending on what kind of swab that you use, I would do it, every 4 to 6 months or something like that. If your register key the throat B flat start playing really flat, then it's almost certain that, unless there's been some other changes, it's almost certain that that tone hole, that tube is getting lined with debris and it needs to be cleaned out so it'll function properly. So that's one of the ways to keep the register tube functioning well so it has a nice clear sound. Well, another one of the problems with the register tube is that it has sometimes they sound real fuzzy and hissy and buzzy. You'll find that fuzz and hiss on the throat B flat itself. You'll hear that sound. But a lot of people complain because on the bell B, they hear that same sound. And that's because the only tone hole open on the clarinet when you play bell B, that is the third line B natural, is that register key. Now, one of the things I love to do on the third line B natural is not only, of course, vent the register key, but I love to vent the throat A key too. If you vent the throat A key, it's a big improvement in the sound of the B natural. It reduces resistance and it produces a good deal of clarity. But let's say that still doesn't solve your clarity problems. Then what can you do about this register key? Well, most people like a cork pad in the register key. Sometimes you put a skin pad in there. I think that's really a mistake. You need something else. I like synthetic pads in the register key sometimes. The Valentino white pads, synthetics, seal very well and they last a coon's age, depending on the coon, of course. But one of the things you can do if you have a cork pad is that you can take the key off again and you can take some abrasive and sand the sharp edges all the way around the cork pad off. Sharp edges are always noise makers. They always cause problems. So make sure you get those edges very nice and very rounded so the vibrations can flow easily around the pad and not cause all that hissing noise and stuff. So that will help a great deal. So those are some things you can do physically to make the register key a little clearer as far as the throat B flat goes. Now, there's an opposite problem, and that is, how do you get adequate support for the second register? And we're going to talk about that next.